Hello and welcome back to the Wasteland, everybody. Today we're going to be going over the top 10 worst perks in Fallout 3. There's actually a lot of really bad perks in Fallout 3, just like there is in basically all of the Fallout games. Sometimes because they don't work, sometimes because they don't really give you that much of benefit. We're going to be going over the top 10 in this video. So let's hop right into it with our number 10 pick. This one is probably going to sound familiar to you guys. This one is a two-way tie in 10th place between Infiltrator and Computer Whiz. Now, both of these perks I lumped together because they both basically do the same thing. Both these two perks require you to be level 18 in order to get. You also need to have either 7 Perception or 7 Intelligence, as well as 70 Lockpicking or 70 Science to get this. Either way, they both basically do the same thing, which is get you another attempt at either hacking a computer or breaking into a lock. Now, breaking into a lock, the only time this is going to matter is if you force locks, which it already tells you a percentage chance of getting the force lock chance right, and there's no reason to do this. You might as well just play the lockpicking minigame. It's far more consistent that way, and at the worst, you're just breaking the lockpicks that you have. It's not a huge deal. So you're probably never going to run out of lockpicks maybe early on, but by the time you're getting this, you're not early on into the game. You're getting towards the mid to late game. Computer Whiz is also not necessary, since it lets you retry the hacking minigame once again whenever you interact with the terminal, which again doesn't really matter because you can just hop out of the terminal and you'll just get a full reset once you go back into it. It does take a little bit longer than if you fully went through the options and reset it again, but it doesn't really save you any time, and the time that it does save you is not going to be worth a perk slot anyway. It's just neither one of these perks is enough to be worthy of getting. Coming in at our number 9 spot, we have Rad Tolerance. Rad Tolerance is a perk that's added with the Broken Steel DLC, and you do have to be level 26 in order to get this, as well as have 7 endurance to get it. So it does require a decent amount of investment, and you're going to be towards the end game once you can actually get this perk. What this perk does is you suffer no penalty from minor radiation, and that's it. That doesn't really matter. You're rarely going to get minor radiation by the time you're getting level 26 anyway. You get tons of Radaway, you get tons of Rad X in this game. They give you an abundance of healing supplies and just medical supplies in general. There's no reason that you would ever want to have radiation in this because there's not even really great perks that are tied to this, like there's New Vegas. This one gets rid of a problem that's not usually a problem for you. And even if you do get minor radiation poisoning, I believe it's only a -1 to your endurance and maybe -1 to your strength. I think you'll live without either of those. Coming in at number 8, we actually have a 3-way tie this time with all of the Karma perks that are available at level 24. Now, there is one caveat as to why this is kind of useful, and I'll get to that in a second. There's 3 perks that are associated with this: Devil's Highway, which gives you evil karma, Escalator to Heaven, which gives you good karma, and then Karmic Rebalance, which gives you neutral karma. These ones, that's all they do. And karma plays a very little role in Fallout 3. There's really not much that it has to do with anything, unless you're going with a specific character build, like you're trying to be an evil character, you're trying to be a good character, or you're trying to get that neutral character as much as possible. The only other thing that it gives you is achievements for getting a character all the way to max level for this. And a really easy way to do this is just save right before you're going to hit level 30, and then just pick one of these, reset your game, pick the next one, reset your game, pick the third one, and you've already filled out those achievements. Coming in at number 7, we have Rad Absorption. This is another perk that's added with Broken Steel, and this one requires you to be level 28, and you have to have 7 endurance, so you're getting towards the very end of the game to get this one. And when you get this perk, it doesn't give you an amazing effect. It's -1 radiation per 20 seconds. This is just way too slow to be useful, and again, by the time you're getting to the very end game, there's no way that you have not collected a huge amount of medical supplies that you can just use to get rid of your radiation. It's once again similar to Rad Tolerance, where it's fixing a problem that's not a problem. The problem just goes away by itself by the time you're getting to this point in the game. If this was a level 2 perk, I think it would actually be pretty decent. If Rad Tolerance was a level 2 perk, it might have some use. And speaking of wasted perks, up next is Deep Sleep at our number 6 spot. Deep Sleep requires you to be level 22. It has no other requirements than that, which is kind of useful. But what Deep Sleep does is whenever you sleep in any bed, even ones that you don't own, then you can get the well-rested effect after sleeping 8 hours. The well-rested effect is a bonus XP effect that lingers as you play the game, and it gets you 10% bonus experience. Usually you just get this from sleeping in one of your owned beds, and you'll get 10% more XP, which is actually pretty decent by itself. The problem comes is this just makes it so you can sleep in any bed to get that, and you have to be level 22 in order to get 10% more XP by the time you're getting to level 22. That is just such a terrible investment, Even at a level 2 perk, this perk would still be awful, because 10% more XP is just not enough to be good enough to take as a perk, mainly due to the reason that if you plan on playing through the entire game, you're playing through the DLCs, and you're playing the majority of side missions, you're going to hit level 30 regardless, so getting there slightly faster makes no difference, especially once you have to get to level 22 in order to get this. You're probably not going to notice any sort of difference between 22 to 30. Coming in at number 5, we have an old favorite, at least to be used as a punching bag, and that is Lead Belly. I've talked about Lead Belly a lot here on the channel, since it is such an interesting perk that's been sticking around in the Fallout games for so long, and it's never been a good perk. It's just been around. You have to be level 6 in order to get Lead Belly, and you need 5 endurance to get this. And what this allows you to do is you take 50% less radiation whenever you're drinking from a water source. And that's it. Which sounds like it could be pretty useful in a post-apocalyptic survival game where it's named Fallout and you have to worry about radiation. Except for that you almost never have to worry about radiation. There's very few areas in Fallout where you're going to die quickly from radiation. And basically they're all of the out-of-bounds areas where you shouldn't be going anyway. Taking reduced radiation from water sources sounds kind of useful, but then there's not a whole lot of great water sources to be drinking from that also have high radiation. Because the water sources that do have high radiation are like toilets, and if you drink from them you get very little health. You want to be looking for things like sinks or things like water fountains, which generally have much lower radiation or no radiation and only give you healing, in which case this perk doesn't really do much. And if you're just drinking dirty water, it also doesn't really give you that much radiation either. If you're drinking purified water, which is super common to find, especially if you have the Broken Steel DLC and you're into the end game, you're never going to be in a situation where you need to be drinking from other water sources. As well as on top of this is that there is no survival mode built into Fallout 3 normally. If you want it, you have to mod it in. That means that you don't ever have to worry about getting dehydrated. You don't have to drink water at any point during the entire game. It just counts as a healing item, and there's better healing items than just purified water. Coming in at number 4 here, we actually have a massive tie here between all of the perks that get you +5 and +5 to 2 different skills. This would include Daddy's Boy / Daddy's Girl, depending on whether you're male or female. This requires 4 intelligence, nothing else. Gun Nut, which requires 4 intelligence and 4 agility, and that'll get you 5 small guns and 5 repair. Little Leaguer, which is 4 strength, and that gets you melee and explosives. Thief, which is for agility and perception, and that gets you +5 lockpicking and +5 sneak. And I guess we can throw Scoundrel in there too, even though that one's a level 4 perk and should be even worse, because by the time you're getting to level 4, you can actually pick some other better skills than these ones. And that one's 5 speech and 5 barter. None of these perks are really worth taking, especially when you could just have high intelligence to begin with, or take better perks, especially once you hit level 4, like Comprehension, or even Educated, which isn't a great perk either in my opinion. But if you want to get to max skills and everything, you could take either of those or both of those perks over any of the other perks, and they'll be a little bit more useful to you. These perks are just not that great because you're kind of tied into using them, where most level 2 perks aren't that great, and you do have to take 2 of them, since you have to take 1 at level 2 and 1 at level 3. And usually, at least for me, I usually take either Black Widow or Lady Killer, and then I'm forced to pick one of the other ones, either one of these skill ones. Intense Training, which can be useful, but with something like Almost Perfect, it becomes a little bit less useful. And Swift Learner, which is going to show up a little bit later on this list because I think it's the worst of the level 2 perks. Having +5, or +10 in total to your skills gets you a little bit of an advantage at the very start, but not usually that much, because if you want a huge advantage at the start, again, you could just go with Intelligence, get a couple levels, and just pump that one skill up to whatever level you want it to be, especially if you don't plan on getting all of your skills to level 100. Doesn't really matter then. Pump up whatever your primary weapon is and whatever extra things you like, whether that be lockpicking, science, whatever. Coming in at number 3 is Swift Learner. This is the perk that I would say is even worse than the other perks that we just talked about. What Swift Learner does is you can take it 3 times, it requires 4 intelligence, you can take it at level 2, and it gives you 10% bonus XP anytime that you get XP. So if you wanted to take this 3 times, you can get 30% more XP, and there is basically no reason for you to ever take this perk. 10% more XP is just a terrible increase. It's worse than any of the other ones that you could take at level 2. I would say that Swift Learner is probably one of the worst perks in the Fallout series. I know some people are going to disagree with me on that. The 10% XP never matters between the level of 2 and level 30 being the level cap. You're never going to get the difference between a level in there. So even at level 29 to 30, You're going to be partway up there. If you had taken this, you probably actually hit it if you took all 3 of these, but at that point you've just wasted 3 perk points that you could have spent on much better things, and you're in an even worse off position because you've still hit the level cap a little bit quicker than what other people would, but you're 3 perks down. It's just not a good investment overall. Then coming in at number 2, we have a perk that is very similar to all of our skill point perks, so things like Little Leaguer and Gun Nut. We have Size Matters. This is a level 8 perk that requires 5 endurance, and it gives you plus 15 to your big guns. And you can take this 3 times just like you can with the other perks that give bonuses to there. This is terrible for a couple of reasons. One, it's all the way at level 8, so this isn't necessarily because big guns are a terrible skill to get up. The skill to get up is actually kind of terrible. Big guns themselves are actually pretty decent. Missile launcher, minigun can be really good. A couple of the other weapons can be pretty decent too. The Fat Man, of course, if you have mini nukes for it. There is a well-known glitch in Fallout 3 to where you can have an infinite amount of big guns books spawn constantly. So you never need to put any points into big guns. You also never need to put any points into science because there's another well-known glitch that gives you an unlimited amount of big books of science if you're willing to go out of your way to get them. And it really doesn't take much to get them. You just have to go to a certain location. With big guns, you have to kill a couple of enemies because enemies do respawn where it is. But you just have to wait 3 days, go back to that location, kill I think it's a raider that has it, get it off his body, read that book, and just keep doing that over and over and over again. You'll get to max level big guns without any trouble. You can also do the same thing with science, although you just need to go to the location and then pick it up off of a scientist's body, leave the area, and then wait 3 days and come back and do the same thing again. That alone makes this perk basically useless, but also having to be level 8 in order just to get 15 to your skill points is not worth it. If you really wanted this, I would highly recommend that you take Educated or Comprehension or both, or just go with High Intelligence at the very start of the game. They will get you much better results than this one will. And coming in our number 1 spot is Here and Now. Here and Now has never been a good perk in any of the Fallout games, because what Here and Now does is just let you level up once. So you're taking a perk so you can level up once, which is fine if you don't plan on taking any perk that level. If you're just like, every perk I have sucks, and I just want to level up again. But there's almost never a situation where that would be the best option to take. You can also just take better perks at level 10 than this one. There's a lot of better perks. Every other perk is better than this perk. So I would highly recommend that you take that. And these would be my top 10 worst perks in Fallout 3. I might do a part 2 to this, because there's a lot of really bad perks in Fallout 3. If you guys would like to see that, tell me down in the comments below. I'd love to hear. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye!